quick intro because we really want to give Rabbi Jonathan Cohen all the time in the world to speak. In this week's parsha, we learned for the first time in the parsha Mishkan about Shemen Lamaor, which is made from Zayid. Shemen Zayid, and the Navi Yirmiyah compares the Jewish people to a pre-Zayid b'chayid pa'ar. The Medrash asks why specifically a 8 Zayis. There's many trees that we're compared to. Why is Yirmiyah specifically choosing the Zayid? And Chazal explained that if you've ever had the occasion to harvest olive trees, so you see that the process is actually quite difficult. You first beat the tree, you hit the tree, and then the olives fall, and then they're hitting on the ground. They fall on the ground. So first you hit the olives on the tree, then they fall to the ground. Then you shake them up on the ground, and then you gather them, and then in order to get out the oil, you'll squeeze them. The olive really goes through a lot of what you would call, quote-unquote, yisurim. But when the olive goes through the quote-unquote yisurim, it comes out as olive oil, one of the most refined and finest things that we have in life. It's so prominent in the Beis HaMikdash, also in the lighting, also in the menachos. Rabbi Jonathan Cohen, some of you know him as Joko. Unfortunately, we don't have the privilege this year of having him as a representative of Leva Torah. We have Frolich, that's very good, Baruch Hashem. But Rabbi Jonathan Cohen has always been an inspiration to me. We work together in Shalavim, and that's also a lesson for you. Just look around you, the people that are sitting around you, even if you sometimes don't hear the name for a long time, when somebody says the name of the person sitting here and sharing a base midrash with you, you will always look back fondly on it. I have to mention, he also picked me for his basketball team way back when. He traded for me. He didn't realize what a terrible mistake that would be. But this specific year, the past 2 months, it's fair to say, and you forgive me if we see the fine olive oil that Rabbi Jonathan Cohen is. He's had some very severe yisurim that he's undergone in the past 2 months now, 2 months or so. And just when you thought he couldn't get any better and any finer, it's just an incredible thing to see. And those of you that knew him before, then you will know that he was always a fine gentleman, but he's become even more refined now. It's just unbelievable. The amount of chizuk that he gives the people that are around him and visit him, I quote him often in Emes Ve'emunah, the amount of mizmorim letoda that have been said in the past 2 months, all b'schus Rabbi Jonathan Cohen, has just been incredible. And I asked him if he wouldn't mind coming to the Beis Medrash and before Mincha appropriately giving us some chizuk and emunah and taking us to the next level in refining ourselves. Be'ezras Hashem. Well, and we're sitting outside of the Kim also. Are we growing with that?
Okay. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I apologize if I can't see you in the back because this is just for reading, not for sight. So I see images, but I don't automatically see people, which is also good. I'll share with you just a few ideas, and then as I've been here many years ago speaking, hopefully no one falls asleep. Hopefully I capture your attention because that's what you have to do. You have to capture the audience. So as Rav Jake said, it was about two plus months. So it's actually been 11 weeks and 3 days that my life has changed. Everybody has their date that they think about in terms of maybe their sparks or their inspirations. So I guess the day that I'm going to remember is December 7th. I don't know if you all know where you were on December 7th. It was actually a birthday party. Bumped into, where's Shimmy? Shimmy's still here? Shimmy's over there. There was Josh Bernstein's birthday party. It was at Motzei Shabbos. And that's when, in a sense, the world started finding out about something. And it was very hard for me in the beginning because what people heard was that I had emergency brain surgery, which was kind of scary. And I didn't really feel it. My kids had a witness. My wife had a witness. I just know in the morning, I woke up. We were supposed to go to my great niece's kiddush. We were very excited for that kiddush. And I said to my wife in the morning, I have a headache, my brain is on fire, and I have a brain bleed. Now, Mitzvah Hashem, you'll all get married one day, and if you say that in the morning to your spouse, what do you think they'll say? You're full of baloney, right? If anything, maybe you have a headache, you still owe me a date with your son. Don't forget. Okay? I haven't forgotten. So my wife went to the doctor who lives next door to get in so that I'll just be quiet. Meanwhile, again, you should never know of this, my 10-year-old daughter, I guess, had to witness the next 7 minutes, and she was hovering over me, and I only found this out last week. That I said to her, I said, what were you thinking about when you saw me just lying on the bed? Some people thought that I had fallen in shul. Other people thought I was found on the floor. I was in my bed. I didn't get out of my bed. That's how I was told. And she said, I was lying on you. You were snoring, and you were breathing very heavily. And I said, Tehillim. I said, wow, that's pretty impressive. I said, which kapitel Tehillim did you say? And guys, help me out here. What's the typical Tehillim you would say? Shir Malos, Shir Lamalos, Shir Lamalos. Of course, what did she say? Mizmor Toda. She said that's the one she knows by heart. I was blown away. That was before all these Mizmor Todas became even more infamous. And she said it was very scary. Doctor came and pretty much said, quickly, get him to the hospital. Turned out that I had emergency brain surgery. Okay, if anybody wants to see, it's pretty cool now. I haven't seen it yet. No one's taken a picture. That's part of radiation. You start losing your hair a little bit. It's pretty cool, right? People have said to me, it's like good Bikur Cholim versus bad Bikur Cholim of like, wow, who's your barber? Because I love to have that barber. So some people think it looks like a plus sign or a different type of sign. I think our family says it's more like a clove, but no one's taking a picture yet to show me. So it's also okay. In the beginning, I was wearing a hat when this happened because I was a little bit nervous, not for myself, but for other people. Maybe it was scary for them. And finally, in the shul that I daven at, someone said, just be yourself. Everybody knows what you're dealing with. So as I mentioned to you, that first day, I had emergency brain surgery, and they told me I had something called metastasis. I think that's the term. I'm not so smart. Anybody know what that really means? It's a code word for what? Spreading of what? Cancer. Thank you. Okay? So I didn't realize for the first week that I had cancer. I knew I had growths, but I never asked what that was because that first week I was so groggy. There were so many people, and that's why I started taking even more pictures just to try remembering who was even coming in. And when I started going through those pictures a few weeks ago, it was a little bit like, I don't say interesting. It was like, wow, that person came to visit me? Oh, like you like start putting all these thoughts into your mind. So it turns out that, you know, not to intimidate or scare, but I have cancer in a few places in my brain and a few places in my body. It's something called melanoma. If you know what that is, don't say anything. As Josh remembers when we were in another yeshiva, so the guy says, wow, that's really bad. I feel badly for you. I was like, great, thank you. So, God willing, everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Amen. I can tell you that one of the things I remember most about being in the hospital were what we call the nights. A person should never have to spend time in the hospital, except in Yetzer Hashem if their wife gives birth. That could be exciting. But at night when you're there by yourself, because again, when you have wife and kids, someone's got to take care of the home. And they don't really let you have people, well, you could sleep in the hospital at night, but I don't think it's beneficial. It's not so comfortable. And I remember 2 nights, I literally went to the family room. I took a sheet. I was really hoping not to get in trouble. It's like, you know, when you do something in yeshiva, you're like, it's like parva. I just don't know. Maybe it's okay, maybe not. So I took the sheet. I just put it on the floor in the family room. I was just hoping that no one was going to bother me, and thank God they didn't. Maybe I slept an hour or 2 if I was lucky. I would doze off, not doze off. One of the things that also I remember when you look back, I might have shared it with some of the Rabbeim that came to visit, and I appreciate every visit, and I encourage more and more people to come because it just keeps me going. It actually helped me today to get where I am today because I was encouraged not to come today. And I'll explain that hopefully with 2 minutes to go. But I was on pace, Baruch Hashem. There's a wonderful Rabbi on the OU website, Rabbi Resnick. who does the quick daf and the quick Mishnah. If you heard the word quick, a lot of us like to do things quickly, not at 2.0 speed, but 1.25 speed. I can't go that fast. And I really wanted to finish Baba Basra, Mishnayos, and Gemara on the same day. It just so happened that that's how it was supposed to happen. And once I got sick, I was like, okay, the Gemara, there's no way. That's where you got to have a little bit of more concentration. Doesn't mean you're going to always understand things. My wife's grandfather used to always say is that when you learn the daf, it goes in one ear and it goes out the other ear. You just hope you remember something in between. So I said, but at least I want to try finishing the Mishnayos on time. And I had about 10 days to do it. And it really bothered me. And I couldn't do it. I could barely see. Actually, this eye sees very well, just for the record. This is my seeing eye, but I get migraines when I put the patch on this eye. And people used to always watch the stats and say, oh, you have it on the wrong eye today. I was like, really? That's what you're focusing on? So this is just easier for me now. I have blurry vision if I take the patch off. So I just can't see far, but that's also, it doesn't bother me. And my son, who lives in America, wanted to do something for me. He really wanted to come, and he did come and visit me. And he got Simcha Leiner, maybe you've heard of him, singer. So he put together, he sang for me Chasof, right by Hanukkah time. And I said to my son, I said, what you're doing in America is so much more important, and he's in charge of the Tehillim groups. And he said, I want to do a Tehillim. I want to put it together. And he got like 20 of his friends, and he actually asked Rabbi Shwade, who runs the OU apps, to come and speak. I don't know how a person had the time in that morning to say, sure, no problem, but Rabbi Shwade did it for me, I'm pretty sure of that. And he pretty much spoke what I had spoken to him on the phone that week, of how sometimes, you have, we'll say, life-threatening things that you're dealing with, but the only thing I really cared about was finishing the Gemaras and the Mishnayos. After my son put this together, I actually had the encouragement that I'm going to finish and I'm going to do my best to catch up. And thanks to a few people in the neighborhood, they realized that using one of these guys, it's not so easy to learn off, especially if you're trying to do Gemara. So then somebody in the neighborhood showed you could do on big font. I always saw those people with the big font. It scared me. But he did it, but instead they got me an iPad. And I can tell you to date that I'm probably within a week of the daf, probably within a few days of the Mishnayos, and I'm in Mishpatim and Shnai Mikra, but I already finished Truma of reading the Psukim. And I'll segue to Rav Weinberger. When I had a private meeting with him, he said, wow, that's probably a lot better than most people. So again, I'm not asking any of you what you're up to in terms of your goals, but that's something that's powerful in terms of being in yeshiva. What is it that you want to accomplish? And sometimes you haven't thought about it, but you're about to have Rosh Chodesh Adar, which is usually the most exciting month of the year. If I'm wrong, the Rabbi will tell you guys afterwards. But that's really where you could really fine-tune before you go on a month's break of either you're staying here or maybe seeing your family, and what have you accomplished? I remember when I was in Shalavim, I came home and I told my mother, Ma, I learned 23 daf of Gemara. She goes, I sent you for a year to yeshiva and that's what you learned? You couldn't do more than that? I was like, I don't know, I learned Gemara. She's like, don't you do anything else?
It's 20 more than I did.
You learned Be'iyah. I learned Be'kiyas. But one of the things that Rav Weinberger said is that every day you have a choice to make. And you can either be in Gehenna or you could be in Kodesh Kadashim. But it's your choice to make, and you really are entitled to any of those decisions. This morning was one of those days. I started off in Gehenna. My wife told me, don't go to Minyan. Rabbi Merrill saw me yesterday. He sort of knew something was off. But right now I'm dealing with fever. And if you deal with fever, that means that I can't take my pills. Can you imagine? Cancer pills, dealing with fever. At the end, you want to get better, right? So that was this morning's struggle. But as I said to Merrill, I got very lucky. Had a few visitors this morning. They give you a little bit of koach. I checked my temperature about 11:40. Didn't have fever. But I've had this before. It comes, it goes. When you feel good, you feel great. When you feel down, should never have this also. When you're in bed, shivering, freezing. But I'll share with you one thought which you should never do when it comes to Bikur Cholim, because I think it'll be a great shmooze for Rabbeim to give their Talmidim. The two least amount topics spoken to their students about is Bikur Cholim, and anybody want to guess the other one? Avelis. We shouldn't know about that either. And everyone just assumes that everything will just be fine. And a few weeks ago on a Friday night, I had a Shalom Zachar. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of simchas in our family. It's amazing. And my wife said we should go home. I said, no, we're here for your family simcha. I should stay a little bit longer. That was a mistake. When your wife says go, you just go. And somebody came over and said to me, Baruch Rofei Cholim. Said it actually with a little bit more excitement. I said, really? I said, who told you that? Who told you I'm all better? I know I didn't have any scans. I didn't do any tests yet. She's like, oh, I spoke to this person, I spoke to that person. So a good lesson is if you really don't know information, just keep your mouth shut. And don't share, because you don't ever want to be that person that thinks that they're doing you the biggest chesed in the world. And I actually said to her, it was a few weeks ago, I actually had fever for 3 days. And I didn't take my pills for 3 days. I said, can you guarantee me that I'm going to be fine? She's like, oh, I didn't realize. I didn't know, like backtracking. I'm like, well, really wish you just didn't even say that in the first place. And the other thing that happened is that one of the 2 pills that I take, you only get it every 30 days. And you can only actually pick up those pills on like day 30. My wife saw the week before my pills with my name on it, and they decided on that Wednesday to just give it away to somebody else who needed it. Now, obviously, they also need it. It's a very important pill. But by the time I needed it, now again, I didn't take pills for 3 days. I was sick. That meant that instead of needing it on Wednesday, I needed it on Sunday. And here I am trying to be relaxed, but on Friday night, someone says, Baruch Rofei Cholim. I'm like, can you guarantee me that on Sunday I'm going to get my pill? Let's just say that woman would have, hid under a table if she could. And the challenge that I give to every single student, and I'm sure Merrill could give you my number, is the best thing that a person could do. Again, your goals right now is to be learning, but I actually have this from another yeshiva as well, and it means the world to me. Yesterday I couldn't really look at my phone because I wasn't really feeling well. Just couldn't let it on. But send me a message. Divide up. If you're 100 guys in the yeshiva and everybody, divides up every 7 days, and you get 7 messages a day and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so from this yeshiva, just checking in. Because everybody's part of history. And all of you now are part of my history. And you can either say that you heard a nice shmooze, not even one person fell asleep. But then, whatever happens, either you'll make it to my Sudas Hadah.
Hey.
Okay, good. At least where Jake is confident. So that's good. It's one person. I'll take it. L'tzarenu, it shouldn't be the opposite. But this way you could say that you had some type of part in it. And I think what gives me the most theis, as I told you this morning, of what got me to be able to give the shmooze this morning is people coming to visit or just sending me, positive messages. That's what people need when they're not well. Okay, I went 1 minute over, so hopefully that's good. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.